Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Book to Block, the series where I bring my fantasy novel to life in Minecraft, one block at a time. In the last episode, we did a lot of planning, and in today's episode, we're going to be working on the housing. As you can see here, I've got the one from the last episode I showed at the very end. I've switched over to fully copper because I think the color pops a bit better than the kind of dull mud bricks. I've also made another building here, forgot to record it, so I'll just have to go around and show you it physically, and I'll try and record doing flashback for the other ones I build. I've also been working on a couple others. These are the ones you saw in the last episode, and then this is the one I just showed you over there. And I've been working on trying to get some diagonal ones. So what I did is I took this one here, I selected it using Axiom, and then I rotated it. So what you do is when you select it, here, I'll go from the start, select your build, make sure everything's selected in it, and then I'm going to confirm, and I'm going to copy, and I'm going to paste another version over here. Then you go in the top right here and you see the rotate and scale, because usually when you're rotating, it just goes by 90 degrees. But if you go with the rotate and scale, you can do it by very specific amounts. But as it says here, you can see non-90 degrees are lossy, which means it won't be a perfect rotation. So what I do is I do a 45, click rotate, and you can see it's rotated like this. So that's what this one here is. But as you can see, it is very messy and doesn't look the best. So what I did is I took this one as kind of my inspiration and started working on doing it manually, but just having this kind of in the background so I can get kind of ideas for how to shape it and stuff. The plan for this one is I'm going to have this on the edge as one of these that has the backing towards the mountain, so I don't actually have to finish the back of it, because this took much longer just because trying to get the angle is much more difficult when it's on this kind of 45. So I'm leaving the back kind of empty so that I can just attach it to the, like, I guess the back of this hill of the volcano, and it just goes straight in, kind of like how I mentioned how I was going to plan to do some over here in the last episode. The problem with doing all of these kind of rotated ones is this build here probably took me about an hour to do, whereas this entire build here took me about 45 minutes to do. So as you can see, it's a kind of a waste of my time to be spending this, and I haven't even gotten close to finishing it because I haven't even gotten the sides yet. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go along with these, but I'm going to keep them as the base Minecraft kind of square shaped, not going for the angled. I'll just have to work on where I'm going to have the front door, have a little path lead up to each of these, and kind of work my way around getting these done. Because if I grab one of these, I can just use this one as an example here. I've already copied it, so I can just already bring it over. So the problem with these is, where's the path going to go? So I could have it just in here, but then it's just going to be here, here, and here. I've got to kind of design them so that they're not feeling too out of place. Like I could have one like this here, and then we have one like this. But if you look like this, it's just very kind of messy. So I've got to kind of design these in a way that it won't mess with my path too much. Alright, before we get to planning any of the other different houses, I'm going to show off this build here that I did. So I've gone for the deep slate and kind of copper look, copying what I did over on this side with this one, just because I think the colors work well together for what I want to go for, because I've got the dark and then, oh, I thought that was lava, and the lava, so we got the two, like, comparing different colors sort of thing. But for this one, I've got a little bit of a front porch, a little bit area, little kind of up step here. I could close this off here or whatnot. Got a couple windows on the front. I like using these kind of walls here with the color of a different block on the back, and then having a little bit of glass window, messing around with the stairs to get like a little pattern going. Fun thing about this one is this kind of roof here is copied here, here, and over here. So I built one kind of front roof thing with this little design here, and I just copied it so it's 4 times. But once you're looking at it like this, you can't really tell because of the different angles you're going at. So it's a bit of a time-saving technique just to get a little bit of more detail with less kind of effort. I've got a little bit more front here, going around with all these stairs, a little bit of a pattern kind of here with the blocks and stairs and such, and then the walls. And then if we come on inside here, so we got a decent size here, a couple more windows. I didn't plan it to have this kind of back against the volcano, so I might remove those just because don't really need windows when there's nothing behind it. And a little bit of a balcony here. A couple more windows on the side. And then we got multiple floors, so let's hop up here. Ooh, too fast. Gotta slow down the speed. So I've got a nice floor here with a couple windows. I can always punch out some windows in these walls or into the front here if I need a bit more natural lighting. And then all the way up into the attic here. So lots more space. And then a nice little window here to kind of look out into the plains and such. Alright, so here are a couple of the houses to start off with. I did actually basically finish this entire video making different style houses of this, more closer to these pointed roofs, but as walking through, I just didn't feel the real intensity that I wanted to feel from these builds. They just felt too rushed and just kind of shoved in there for the sake of building. So I went back, destroyed them all, and now I'm going for more of a flat top roof approach with a bit more squares. Just because this feels a little bit more dwarven. I went online, went through a couple, just scrolling through Google Images until I found something that loosely resembled this. I took some parts like this kind of strip of copper just so I could get that copper back in there like I kind of have for the plan of the theme, and I just tossed that in there, and I'm going to use that for most of these. I then went in and I built basically everything out of these deep slate bricks, but then after that I selected it all and I did the auto shading. So I'm going to quickly build another one, and then I'll show you how I got all the different details from that. So let's get to building that now. Alright, and there is just the starter, kind of basic blocky part of it. So it's similar to these guys. As you can see, I'm using very similar concepts. I did miss adding these stairs at the bottom. So let's grab these all the way around. I'll fill in the ground level to match those in a second. Let's just quickly zoom around, fill those in. And there we go. Alright. I'll add in the windows afterwards because they're kind of easy just wherever I need them to be. But what I do next is hop over to Axiom. I'll shrink that over so you can see a little bit more. And then magic select. So I'm going to select all these bricks on both these. And then I'm going to come up to around here. And then we go to operations. and auto shade. So there's many different ways of doing this. You can either automatic or custom, choose which blocks you want, how much of each. So for this, and then we can just click auto shade, just to see how it goes. As you can see, it does much lighter from the direction where you are, and does the darker stuff further away. But for this one, you can see it's a lot different from these because I clicked the custom one. I'm going to go back to automatic, undo that, and go again. And now as you can see, it's using all these different blocks. And then as you can see on the back here, this is where no sun, imagine the sun is up there, this is where no sun will be, so they use these darker blocks, the black stone. So as you can see, it does it on the same over here. It makes a mix of these deep slate tiles because they're a darker color, as well as the black stone. Same for over here, and even mixes in things like concrete powder. But on the front here, it uses the lighter colors. So that's kind of how I got the different versions of this. I then went around and I removed things like these netherite blocks, because I didn't want it to be that kind of far off. So I just went around and like that, because I do want like this color. I wanted to try around with it. Because like as you can see for these ones, this is very clean, all one color. But that's because these are the more expensive houses. They can afford to have it cleaned all the time, whereas these ones are kind of broken down, less built up ones for the more common people who don't have the time to kind of spend cleaning their buildings, getting it repaired every day, that kind of thing. At least that's my reasoning behind having this. You can then go around and do the same for like your slabs and stairs, but the problem is, I'll show you. Let's say I do the slabs here in auto shade, it automatically turns them into blocks. So that's not what I want. So instead what I do, I'll clear my inventory a bit, I grab the different types of slabs that I want. So I got these 3 types. I then use my replace, and then I just randomly click as I go along. I do one at a time. So like this. So now it's a split between these two, so then I can go and grab the cobbled, and just try and click a little bit, trying not to drag too much. If you want more control, you can turn off the fast place, but I'm just using that to get this done quick. And then that gives you the texture of that one. And then you do the same for the stairs, and then you have to work on the windows. So what I like to do for the windows is I like to go inside my build and figure out where exactly I want things. So I've got this tower here, but it's not too much space, so this will be kind of not really used if I were to make this a real build. It'd be imaginary, so I'd like toss in a window here, but no one's actually going to be coming up here. It'll just be for looks. So then I go around, figure out where I want certain things. Since for these ones, I'm not too worried about what's in each of them, or if I'll even do kind of interior at all for a while. That might be left for a very far future. I can kind of just put them wherever I think they'll be needed from this angle. So as you're walking by, kind of on the street level, because you don't want a window in like these back corners, because what are you going to be looking at? The wall. So there's no real point in having a window back here. So I can kind of avoid adding them. Fix up that. There we go. So now that's properly foundations. So I can add a couple. So I'm going to go for this one, and then one on this side. Try and keep it even, just to make it look a little bit better. Like I got these ones at the same point. After that, what I do is I grab these walls, and I go all the way around like this. And then with stairs, I do these 2 in the bottom. So these are sitting on blocks. And after that, you go in with these black glass panes. It connects up with the walls and fills in nicely. I use the black ones just so it doesn't seem like there's actually much glass there. Because if I went and used, even if I just used the basic glass panes, it is very noticeable. And it just kind of brings away from the whole build on its own. So grab those back in. And we can go do the same over here. I'll use my walls again, replace, and then stairs. I can switch these up after when I do my kind of texturing with those. And then maybe I'll add just one more over here. So grab those, not like that, around, and glass. I can go around and also do the texturing on these walls. I don't think I've actually done that yet. These ones are very basic. I can go around with the different wall types and just add in the bits like that. I'll grab this. This one, I have to go like this, and then let's go there. Make sure I don't misplace them. It'd be hard to see sometimes, especially with this shaders on. So there is another build. So that's what I'm going to do for each of these. I'm just going to do basically what you saw, and that just kind of sped up a bit there, just to show each of the kind of builds, but it's not too important because they're all going to be very similar, just basic housing. So let's get to finishing off these houses, and then we'll see what else we can add. Alright, and that's 5 more. So I've got this space to fill up next. I think I'm going to bring this cliff face out a little bit so it's a bit more steep, so then I can do some builds that are going just directly into it and like connect the roofing directly into it, and it kind of just rolls right off. So what we can do just to finish off now, I'm going to do the shading now. So I'm going to select all of the regular bricks. I'll have to do all the stairs and slabs separately, all manually. And sun, player position, I'll bring myself up to here so it's all the same. And auto shade. So let's go take a look a little closer. Yeah, that's much better. So comparing to this, where it feels really clean, I mean, we can just compare between these two. This one looks a lot more detailed, even though not a lot's been done, but there we go. Oh, it looks like I accidentally did the stairs on that one. I'll have to redo those, but that really adds a lot of detail. And I think it'll be even better when I do the roofs, because these ones don't look as shiny, which is I think the problem that these ones have, especially with the shaders. They look really shiny and clean, and that's not really what I want for these builds. I want them to be all dirty because we're right next to a volcano. All the ash coming off should roughen up all these builds. Alright, but with that, I think that is it for today's episode. Currently, I am working on maybe launching a second series on this channel, so keep an eye out for that. That'll be coming out very, very soon. So with that done, I think that's enough of the housing for today. I've got plenty more, and as I said, I can just start copying and pasting these. I've got a very large variety of shapes that we come from the top here. So we got some T shapes, some big L's, small L's, a rectangle, more L's. I seem to go a lot with the L's, but they're all in different directions, so they can kind of just rotate around, flip around, and all be very different builds. So maybe in a future episode, I'll just do a quick intro by pasting these ones and all of the other spots. But I think I'll finish the interiors, do all the texturing, of course, before pasting them in, so I don't have to do these interiors 100 times. Instead, I just have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 interiors, and then have it just copy over multiple times. But with that done, if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a like and subscribe for more videos coming soon. Until next time.